At the age of 16, my life was a complete wreck. I was in my second foster home, and after a series of poor choices, I found myself in the Albany County Juvenile Correctional Facility. During this time, I felt completely hopeless, lost. My life was just not only a complete wreck outwardly, but inwardly, I was lost and just desperate for a way out. Um, about a week after being in the Albany County Juvenile Correctional Facility, a pastor came to my jail cell. I don't know if he was a pastor. He definitely seemed like it, but sometimes I like to think it was an actual angel that God sent to me. But regardless, this man came. He knocked on my cell door and he asked me if I wanted to talk to him about accepting Jesus as my Savior. And naturally, without hesitation, I said yes. And they unlocked my door and let him in. And he stood there at the door and asked me if I knew Christ. And I said no. And he said, "Would you mind if I share Christ with you?" And I said yes. And he opened up to John chapter 8. It's the story of the woman caught in the act of adultery. And I remember as he was reading through this story, he was talking about how the Pharisees and Sadducees brought this woman who was caught in the act before Jesus and said, "Lord, underneath our law, it says that this woman deserves to be stoned to death." And I know for myself that in that moment, that's exactly the person I was because of the decisions that I had made, the people I had harmed, and just life choices. I felt like I was that person. I felt like I deserved to be stoned to death for the sins that I had committed. And Jesus bends over and draws in the sand and then stands back up and says, "He who is without sin can cast the first stone." And one by one, the accusers left from the oldest to the youngest. And for the first time in my life, I felt the weight of my sins gone. I guess it's an experience that it's very hard to vocalize. It's something that one has to personally experience. But for the first time, everything I had done wrong, every person I had harmed, even the things, the bad things that were done to me, I for once felt all of it lifted off my shoulders. And Jesus looked at the woman and said, "Where are your accusers?" And she says, "There are none, Lord." And then Jesus looked at her and said, "Go and sin no more." And it was in that moment, beyond reasonable doubt, that I knew that I was his and he was mine, and I had accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior.